Konnichiwa, news watch boy INCOG. Battle Reaction video. In today's video, guys, we're doing a video on, I think his name is Toho Sniper 98, if I'm not mistaken, or Toho Sniper. His channel, originally we should write it below as always. Excuse me. But yes, this one is called Proto Merlin. Is just side grade MerlinCastoria. So Proto Merlin is the female version of what Merlin is. Like the female is a female version of Merlin. Pretty sure it's like similar in like the abilities, but I mean, obviously, I guess we'll get to know more about the information, everything about it in this video. But saying just a side grade, not even a downgrade, just a side grade. I've never heard of a side grade. No, a downgrade, upgrade. But a side grade, I guess, is like minimum. I guess is like what you're contributing to, like, you know, whatever the case may be. But it's saying MerlinCastoria, so I guess it's like a combine of both. Like she fits the niche of like how both of them fits the niche. Like Merlin's for Buster, Castoria also obviously is for arts farming and stuff like that. So I guess it's like it's like a fusion between both those. That's all I'm guessing off the title. Not even seeing the video yet. But anyway, guys, before you get to this, guys, so like the video, it helps the channel grow a lot. Share a video. If this is interesting, you want to get out to more people, see if they're gonna like the video and everything like that. Also, as well, subscribe to the channel if you're new. On the way to 1,500 subscribers. Anyway, guys, let's get right into this. So, play.
Hey, what's going on? I enjoyed making the Archetype Earth video from 2 weeks ago, and it seems like y'all enjoyed watching that shit, since it did better numbers than most of my shitty YouTube content does these days, so I appreciate it.
I mentioned shot that fan, you can hear that fan.
This one are going to be on the Summer 7 servants who've come out recently on JP. From what I've seen, it really seems like this summer's batch of servants has generated a lot of debate and discussion among you JP players, enough to where it's motivated me to make videos about it, when usually I don't touch JP content in video format like this. Like when I stream, people will bring it up because, well, I'm streaming, and they want to know, oh, what do you think about this on JP? So I'll answer.
Oh, so he does exclusively in A content.
Like
okay. I thought he did JP content, but I guess not.
But hey, like I said earlier, I enjoyed making the last one on Archetype Earth, so I'll keep making them as long as I feel like I have something meaningful to talk about. This one's going to be on Proto Merlin first. Specifically, I'd like to address the concern that some JP players have that she turned out to not be as strong as they expected her to be. Some may even go so far as to suggest that she's just straight up bad.
Oh, really? She's bad.
It's more or less a carbon copy of the original Merlins, or because her kit itself is just straight up bad. Probably the same people who think that, you know, Merlin needs a buff too, but that's a topic for another video. I'll say it right now, just to make things clear and to set the tone for the rest of this video. Proto Merlin is an extremely capable art support servant, if you run her with Tomo Caster. So, yeah, sorry, I lied. This video is actually going to be about Proto Merlin and Tomo Caster. I mean, I'm going to have a level 120 Tomo Caster by the time Skahafest is done, so what did you expect? So what does Tomo Caster have to do with Proto Merlin, you might ask? Well, in a server where players have been spoiled out of their minds, getting support servants like Scotty, Castoria, and Koinskaya, who've all established a looping or reloading meta of some kind with their releases, it's understandable.
Oh, I'm going to pause right quick. I know I don't want to make this video too long, but... Okay, one, chat. Does Proto Merlin really suck over there in JP? Is she not viable? Or it's just like, it's like you're on one side of the fence, either she's really good or she's really bad? Is her kit really just a carbon copy of what the original Merlin's is? It's just that hers is now for arts instead of Buster. And also Koinskaya, I asked this before in like the previous video we did before. How does Koinskaya loop Buster? Because I thought Buster you don't get MP charge or MP gain. Arts, obviously I can see how you get it. You farm, you can like do the cycle, you can loop it with the arts. Even quick to a certain, well, actually quick, nah, just you go get some stars, but really go to get the crit stars more than actually getting MP charge. But I kind of got, because quick you get some MP. Arts obviously is for the MP. Buster though, you don't usually get MP from it. How does Koinskaya help with that? What is her? Is this something like with her kit or abilities? Has to be, right? Like, what does she do to like loop Buster? I'm kind of warning on that to do the Buster memes. But yeah, Anyway, those things. Does Proto Merlin really suck? Is she not valuable over in JP? And how does Konya Sky loop Buster? Alright, let's get back to it. Play.
Compare whatever support type servants might come out these days, especially if they're 5 stars, to the meta ones that are already out. So when someone like Proto Merlin comes out, if people look at her kit and think, well, she doesn't have a kit like Castoria's that enables looping, and she's basically just Merlin with a few added goodies, which means she's so 2016 and obviously bad, or at least mediocre. But this is where I gotta tell y'all to back it up a bit, because in the case of art supports, what many players, especially newer ones, fail to understand that Tamamo Caster is the original queen of arts teams. No, I don't mean in terms of your zoomer looping teams. Obviously, Castoria handles those, and I'll talk more about their dynamic in a little more detail in the video after this one. I'm talking about the good old arts teams that you use for boss fights and challenge quests. And just how is Tamacaster the queen of arts teams, you might ask? Well, the answer is her noble phantasm. Tamacaster is the only servant in the game whose NP behaves the way it does, specifically the way it does. A heal, a skill cooldown, and refund for the whole team on an arts NP.
Sheesh.
The key strength of arts teams, you have to understand,
I need her to be, I need to like get her on like a spook.
When you run an arts team, your goal is to spam as many noble phantasms as possible, because that's just kind of what happens when arts chains in this game give your servants 20% free MP charge every single time. So the more you spam Tamacaster's MP, the more healing your team gets for sustain, the more frequently your servants can use their skills, and the more often they can spam their own MPs because of the extra refund that Tamacaster's MP is giving everybody.
Makes
No
sense.
other art support in the game is capable of enabling arts teams to the extent that she can, not even after 7 whole years. And I would say this even if I didn't simp for Tamacaster as hard as I do. So no, Lozangle is not trying to kill off
wonder though, like,
Tamacaster
you
with
use
art supports like
Tamocaster
and
and Castoria together with
this guy thinks.
servant. How would that work?
What this means is that if you want to run arts teams optimally for fights that don't involve you overworking your Castoria to death, you better have a Tamacaster as one of your 2 starting art supports. Essentially, for support types in arts teams, you're choosing who you want your Tamacaster's partner to be, and whoever they are, they help determine how you'll be playing that team. This context of considering Proto Merlin as primarily a Tamacaster partner is crucial in understanding her role as an art support, because without it, as I mentioned earlier, people will just compare her to OG Merlin and think that, oh, she's just a side-grade Merlin. Right? And hell, some people apparently go so far as to call Proto Merlin a side-grade Castoria, which may or may not be as retarded as that time 2 years ago when people thought that Castoria would, quote, replace Tamacaster, but again, another topic for another video. Now that we've established this context, we can now dig
I'm actually glad I really
a bit deeper
reacted to
and
this
see
now,
what she's truly
especially with
capable
getting
of. Her first skill
Castoria recently.
is the arts buff, so she's going to be dropping this on whoever your arts DPS is, mainly. The max HP increase means that Proto Merlin's giving your DPS double max HP buffs at some point, and this can be very helpful in situations where you're either running an arts berserker as your DPS, or if you're going up against a berserker boss. One note about the max HP buffs, because some people might not understand how powerful they are. When a servant receives a max HP buff, their max HP increases by a certain amount, that's obvious. But it's not just their max HP that's increasing and their current health isn't. No, the buff is also giving them health to go with that max HP increase. This means that you should think of max HP buffs as heals that you can't waste. And so you can use them at any time with no downside. Contrary to regular heal effects that you can waste if a servant is already at or near full HP. So the fact that Proto Merlin has 2 of these things, one on a skill and one on her NP, is incredibly powerful already. The crit damage buff is potentially very strong.
But you
if
just
you
stack
play
those?
for it, that is. Again, I want to remind you guys that arts teams draw their...
Sorry, guys, I just got off work. I'm sorry.
So the most useful utility from arts crits
Still gonna
is
get
the
this out
fact
to you
that
guys,
getting
though.
double MP gen from them. So Proto Merlin's crit buff is an imperative to the team's overall objective. However, if you've always dreamed of having like an arts Merlin, right, and watching enemies melt with huge arts crits like you once did with OG Merlin and with his huge buster crits, right, now you can. Just make sure to run an arts DPS with their own star weight buff to help them maximize Proto Merlin's arts crit buff.
So you can make her
kind of
viable.
do
You just
this
gotta
with
have the right
Waver,
team
but,
around her.
you
That's what it
know,
sounds
we all
like.
know he's kind of on vacation right now, so. Proto Merlin's S2 without the Tomacaster context certainly seems like an inferior version of Castoria's first skill, especially to those who think Proto Merlin is just a Castoria side grade. But the added NPOC buff is huge when you run her in a Tomacaster arts team. Remember that MP spam is the name of the game for arts teams. You'll often find yourself throwing out double or even triple MP chains, and MP chains, might I remind you again, increase the OC levels of subsequent MPs in them. So the overcharge buff off Proto Merlin's S2 can affect some of them, which changes Tomacaster's MP overcharge levels when they apply so that they can give your team even more refund and make it even easier for your team to reload their MPs and use their skills again, which includes Proto Merlin's S2 itself, so you can use that OC buff even more. Her third skill is the most complicated, since while it's based on Merlin's own invul skill, the only thing that they share is the party invul. Proto Merlin's version features an enemy charge denial effect for one time and a variable battery for herself that depends on how many enemies are on the field when she uses it and gives her 20% charge per enemy. Because trying to use this skill optimally so that all three effects are being used properly is really difficult, think of this skill as a sort of Swiss Army knife in that you can use it for one or maybe two of its effects.
So how are you supposed to use it to be more
Naturally,
optimal?
the easiest way to do this is just to wait for an enemy to get their MP fully charged and then pop it, since the MP charge denial effect will take effect the next turn anyway after they use their MP. But if you're fighting a boss with a 5-tick NP like riders or casters or others even, and they don't have any MP charge skills of their own, so that you have lots of time to get Proto Merlin's S3 back before the boss can NP you, and there are 3 total enemies on the field, you can strongly consider
gotta
going
time
for a
this,
turn
like
1
the timing on
S3
this is very
to give
sensitive,
Proto Merlin
like
60% charge right off the bat, which, if you stack that shit with her passive that gives her 20% charge for free and a max mana loading Appin skill, that's a turn 1 Proto Merlin MP right there. Even if there are only 2 enemies, remember that Proto Merlin's S2 will give you the 20% charge that she needs for the turn 1 NP strat. And let me tell you, having a turn 1 arts NP is amazing when you only have 2 arts face cards on your first turn when you start the battle. So that way you can get started on arts
NP
chaining when otherwise
really,
you
really
wouldn't
lit.
have been able to.
Turn
and
1.
if you're only fighting a solo boss, then, well, shit, just save it for later or pop it anyway. Do whatever you want. One thing I will say about this third skill, though, specifically its MP charge denial effect, from what I can tell, it seems like it's an actual debuff that she needs to cast onto enemies, which would make sense considering that she's got the item construction passive that boosts her debuff success rate. So even with that passive, since it's only 11% and most magic resist passives are stronger,
So he's got
than that,
passive
I would
on top
caution
of like
against
actual effects that's
relying
going on with this
MP
third
charge
skill.
denial effect
Nuts.
to help control enemy NP gauge, unless of course your enemies don't have any debuff resist passives or skills. I've mentioned some of Proto Merlin's passives already, but I want to go over them again anyway because I want to stress how busted they are, or at least the ones that give her MP charge are in the context of the Tomacaster system.
Okay, so what's the MP charge? What's the
how
percent?
strong the mana loading append is. So the fact that she just straight up gets it for free as an actual passive is, well, that's just
so the stuff you've been doing with the pin.
Yeah, the fact that you can also
Pause. So that's basically saying that a pin skill that everybody's been doing. Talking about, cause I remember Chad was telling me when you guys were telling me when I was like streaming, don't do the attack one, don't do the third one, do the one that actually starts you off with 20%. Just do that with your pin skill. She has it as a passive skill, so that means if you put that on top of doing her appendant skill on that, you can get her 40% to start off. That's crazy. Cause usually those you start do 20%, then like I say you build up another 20%, that's 40 off rip before you even play anything. Then that's not even mentioning if you put a CE on her, that starts over even more. You know. All right, play.
subsequently stack that
That's just
shit
crazy.
with her
crazy to
own
me.
mana loading append, is just downright hilarious, and it makes the whole turn 1 Proto Merlin MP strat that I mentioned just a bit ago possible without any
Really
starting
easy.
charge CE
Yeah.
that you have to put on her. Again, assuming
That
double or
I
triple
just
charge
said that's
damage.
crazy.
We all
Yeah.
know how nice the mixed blood passive is. We've all
See
used
me, Tahoe
Merlin at
Sniper?
some point
We're
or
here.
another, and
We're here.
we've all seen how it works on him, especially when he uses NP to have the 5% charge per turn stacked with his passive, and this is a perfect segue into Proto Merlin's own NP, because it behaves the exact same way, almost. The 5% MP at MP1 stacks with the 5% on her passive for 10% charge.
Oh, I'm gonna pause right here. This is the MP. This is like the goody stuff. All right, so Noah Phantom used anti-units. Rank A of a Noah Phantom increases party's max HP for 3 turns. Charges party's MP gauge for every 3 turns. Yeah, it's kind of like what regular Merlin does, but now it's arts. Let's see. So you have level 5 MP on this. It does 5,000 HP. MP Virgin, you get 10%. MP1, you get 5. Then 7.5, 8.75, 9.3. That's kind of some weird numbers there. For that, especially the MP4 sound weird. Let's see. And then Star Regen, MP1, you get 100% charge, which is 5. And it goes from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20, all the way up to 25 with MP5 on her. Okay. So ultimately, the most optimal obviously would be the 5th, if you can actually get that. But yes, 5,000 HP, 10% MP regen with 25%. 25 star regen on top of that. That's not bad. Don't like it's not bad at all. But let's see what Toho has to say about it. All right, play.
For 3 turns, though, instead of 5. Needless to say, spamming her MP, especially with Tamakaster support, should not be difficult at all. Unless, of course, you're fighting enemies who constantly MP drain you, and God forbid you give her a limit-broken Prisma Cosmos or something. For the rest of her NP, again,
that's what I was
max
reading. Didn't
HP
look too
buffs
bad.
are great, and this time they're for the whole party, making everyone be able to survive just that much better, as well as the 5% charge per turn. The one thing you do need to watch out for, though, especially if you're used to playing Merlin, is that these buffs are, again, only for 3 turns. So spamming Proto Merlin for maximum uptime on her buffs is crucial.
That caption crazy.
But that shouldn't be an issue, since she should be in an arts team, like I've been constantly saying, where you want to be doing that in the first place. Just don't expect them to be able to stack at least once, like you can with like Merlin's NP, though. The crit stars are nice on her overcharge, but they're not necessary or they're not mandatory. You can go for them if you want, if you're running, for example, an arts crit DPS with their own star weight buff. This means that in triple MP chains, if your arts DPS is not a crit servant and has a useful overcharge effect, Proto Merlin's NP should be point, your DPS NP mid, and Tamakaster NP anchor. But if your arts DPS is a crit servant and you value the star gen from Proto Merlin's NP more, then you would make your DPS NP point.
So that's the NP, like
mid,
the chain,
and
basically.
then Tamakaster's NP anchor, like before. This is where I have to address a particular issue that some players seem to have here with, specifically with Proto Merlin's NP. They say that they don't like the fact that Proto Merlin has 2 effects tied to her NP level, or even that she has any vital support effects tied to her NP level at all. Like I've seen this brought up in places like the comment section for Proto Merlin's FGO wiki entry, and even in my own stream. When sometime last week, I had 2 guys come into my stream complaining about this exact same issue, this very same issue. Their argument, apparently, if I understand it correctly, that is that it's unfair that her NP is set up this way, with 2 strong support effects being tied to NP level. So that must obviously mean that Lazengo is trying to bait players into rolling for higher NP levels for Proto Merlin to make her as strong as possible, right? This is a really weak argument across all fronts. The biggest and easiest counter argument that I can bring up here is the fact that this is literally how NPs work in the entire game for its entire history.
Right.
Like, if an NP deals damage, for example, it does more damage the more copies you roll of that servant. If an MP has support or utility effects, the stronger those effects get, the more copies you roll of that servant. If you want to point out examples, Waver's defense debuff gets stronger with MP level, Tamamo Caster's heal gets stronger with MP level, Merlin's HP regen buff gets
does
stronger
not get
with
weaker.
MP level, Scotty's
Does not get weak
attack
one
buff
bit.
and crit damage buff gets stronger with every MP level, though to be fair, nobody really uses it. And Castoria's attack buff gets stronger with MP level. Like, this shit is nothing new, bro. That's literally been like this for 7 whole years. Yet motherfuckers out here acting like this is the first time they're seeing a support MP have effects scale with MP level.
Which should not be the
Like,
case.
shit, bro. You're basically saying you got a problem with how all noble phantasms behave in this game when it comes to MP level. So how the fuck you gonna single Proto Merlin out like this? If you're still not satisfied with that, let's put it into perspective and take it back 6 years, back when OG Merlin first came out with the release of Solomon. I don't remember anyone back then, I don't know about you, I don't remember anyone back then bitching about how Merlin's healing scaling with MP level was specifically proof that Delightworks was trying to bait people into rolling more copies of him. Because look, right, he's literally doubling his healing when you get him from MP1 to MP5. Right? Since it's an HP regen buff that lasts for 5 whole turns, you're getting 10,000 health versus only 5,000 going from MP1 to MP5. 10,000 is obviously a bigger number than 5,000.
I'm trying to pull for that.
So
MP5 was going to be crazy.
Anyone complaining about this particular issue back then? And even more importantly, why hasn't anyone brought it up until 6 years later? Like, sure, there are some weirdos who think Merlin needs a buff, but his HP regen effect is probably not on their list of things to buff. And even if it is, it certainly isn't as high of a priority as
Queen Light, not Queen Sky, Queen Light, alright.
Is how to get Merlin up to the level of Koyan Light. Since we're on the topic of comparing the two Merlins here, let's compare Proto Merlin's NP to Merlin's NP and the contexts in which they're used. They both have the same overcharge of 5 to 25 stars per turn, but Proto Merlin gives a party max HP buff for 3 turns that scales from 3,000 to 5,000 HP, while Merlin gives a party HP regen effect for 5 turns.
Proto Merlin actually give you more max HP.
5% MP charge per turn to the team for 5 turns. Proto Merlin's
same
scales
charge,
from 5 to
so it gives you
5
5.
It gives you level, but only lasts for 3 turns.
More max HP and more MP regain.
Merlin's HP regen only heals 1,000 HP per turn, while Proto Merlin gives 3,000 max HP at the same MP level. It takes 3 whole turns for an MP1 Merlin to match the HP buff that a Proto Merlin at MP1 gives. Yes, Merlin can heal for longer and can stack his HP regen buff if he's fast enough at looping his MP. But boss fights and challenge quests these days feature enemies that can rip apart your servants in a blink of an eye. His HP, or his 1,000 HP per turn, Merlin's that is not enough in a lot of cases. It's not enough sustain to recover from that damage fast enough unless you're also running another AoE healer like, you guessed it, Tamacaster. Or if you're in a fight where
Tamo
the
makes
enemies
her
themselves don't do a
optimal.
lot of damage, but instead
Tamacaster
grind your
is.
team down over time with DOTs, and so you need that long-term healing over time instead. And here's the thing about managing servant health in FGO. In my opinion, it sucks when your servants are at low HP, and so they're potentially 1 or 2 more hits away from being dead. Because if you can't afford to lose them, your strategy becomes limited, very limited, to keeping them alive until their HP gets back up to a reasonable level again. Proto Merlin giving a max HP buff means that since it's a heal that can't be wasted, right? If your servants do take a
So actually, Proto Merlin has some pros in her MP
they're not nearly
compared
as
to
in danger as if they didn't
OG
have
Merlin.
that max HP buff, and they're now down to only half their health already and need heals immediately. So in other words, Proto Merlin's max HP buffs give your team buffers to guard against bad enemy hits so that you can still carry out whatever plan or strategy you had in mind going into the battle, rather than being forced to change it on the fly because, whoops, one of your servants just got smacked for half their health because of a bad enemy crit, and so now you're in full emergency mode, keeping them on life support. So in this regard, compared to Merlin's health over time effect, it's well worth the turn limit trade-off and then some. And for the
Well, you should
MP
do
regen
both.
effect, again,
The OG
Proto Merlin
Merlin's
is meant to be
MP
used with
and then
Tama
Pro Merlin's
Caster
MP at the
so
same
that she
time. What will happen
can
with your
MP
party?
spam hard enough
How would
to
everything
keep her
stack?
party MP regen effect sustainable, even though it's only for 3 turns. The main reason why OG Merlin's MP regen buff lasts for 5 turns, or lasts as long as it does, is so that he can be used in Buster teams where arts chains aren't as frequent, so you don't need to rely on him getting his MP up as often. Obviously, the more he can, the better, but he's in a Buster team, what do you expect? And if you're one of those people who has a problem with Proto Merlin's NP regen effect being tied to her MP level, the problem here is that you're viewing that extra MP, those extra MP levels, as something Proto Merlin needs to be functional. When in reality, that extra 5% that she gets going from MP1 to MP5, yeah, that's nice to have, but it's not something that she needs to have to be a functional servant. Never mind the fact that most players, if they do manage to roll Proto Merlin, probably won't go for extra MP copies for her, because they kind of want to save their Saint Courts for
Kind of want
other
to
summer
know like
servants
what would happen
and,
if
you
she
know,
did
maybe even other
come
new servants
over
in the
like to
future.
the NA.
It's either that,
She does come
or
over to
they
the
gotta
NA. Is
bust
she gonna be
open their
valuable or
wallets
not?
to pay for those extra Proto Merlin copies, right? Proto Merlin's NP regen buff is just like Merlin's at MP1, only it doesn't last as long because of Proto Merlin's innate synergy with Tama Caster. Proto Merlin already does her job at MP1. She can do it better, right, with the more MP levels she has, but that's a concept that's consistent with every other servant in the game, so again, why single her out? Her Bond CE is the arts version of OG Merlin's party 10% arts buff with a party 15% crit damage buff. It's best used in short fights where you want arts crit summon, so it could legit be useful in certain situations. Lastly, Proto Merlin being a pretender means that she has one of the more useful third Appen skills in the game, since she's anti-saber and pretenders have half advantage against knight classes already. It also means that fighting against writers or alter egos with arts teams that have Tama Caster in them, naturally, isn't as dangerous, since Proto Merlin won't take bonus damage from them. In fact, against alter egos, she even has full class advantage, again, because she's a pretender. Either way, Proto Merlin lets you only have to babysit Tama Caster, so
she's a pretender, okay.
All the time. So, to summarize, Proto Merlin is, from what I can tell, a fantastic addition to the art support pantheon in FGO. She's not as versatile as OG Merlin in a vacuum, to be fair, but she doesn't need to be, not only because this preserves Merlin's role as a long-term Buster support, so he has some use in the game still, but also because whenever Tama Caster sees a new friend with an arts NP and a triple arts deck, she indoctrinates them into the Church of Fluffy Tails immediately, and that's where they'll hang out for the rest of the game.
Not part of the arts family forever.
And even then. And if you still don't like Proto Merlin's NP for the reasons I mentioned earlier, then go play Arknights, buddy, where potential levels don't mean jack shit for the most part. And ignore the fact that P5 Backpipe exists. The next video will be on Summer Ibuki, specifically the comparison that people have been making between her and Summer Musashi. I don't think it'll be as long of a video as this one per se, but we'll see. Thanks for watching.
Alright guys, so that's Toho Sniper. Proto Merlin is just high grade Merlin MerlinCastoria. So basically, he was just saying that what I got from it is basically just saying overall, just saying that people's basically saying that she's bad just because she has the same kit or a similar kit to OG Merlin. But I still see her pros in certain aspects of like her living and everything like that, and like what she actually like comparing to OG Merlin, it's very like how she had like, if we go back to the comparisons of the MP, right? Let me see if I can find it. Damn, can I find it? Can I find it? I guess I can't find it, but yeah, like I seen like she had more max HP. They both had the same C star regen, but then ultimately, besides like the 5,000, they got an MP regen as well. So I mean, she has some stuff like she is viable. But I don't have a Tamamo Cat for now. But hopefully by the time she comes out in the NA, I will have a Tamamo Cat. I will hope that I can get a Tamamo Cat. But I guess we just have to see like how everything goes. But everything's looking cool right now. Everything's looking really, really nice. I like this video right here, and I'm gonna do more of these videos. Like I said, you guys want me to react to more of these videos, you guys just let me know about something I like on a video. Share video where you share good stuff, favorite Twitter, etc. As well, just let me know. Let me know what you call it. Do social media as well if you can. But ultimately, like I said, let's subscribe on the video, man. Hit the subscribe button. We out. Here.